jokes right now. No more.
Don't.
Oh no.
Sending data.
Cool.
Oh yeah, look at all that data
all
being
that
sent.
Oh, look at all
Oh,
those
we talk about
packages.
Look at all those sweet data. So.
Those information packets just moving along.
Netflix announced an animation series on Devil May Cry. But the
Oh,
same people
no.
who did the Castlevania.
Oh yeah, because
Oh.
it worked out so well the first time. Well,
Well,
the first
for
Devil May
Castlevania, yeah.
Cry. Yeah, but for the first Devil May Cry, it didn't.
Quite good.
Devil May Cry.
To complain.
I actually had a person on Twitter message me going, my anime is JD, my anime of the day is Devil May Cry, and I go, why would you choose to remember that exists? And their response was, well, I liked it.
Bleh.
Well, I liked it. Yeah, but like you can't.
You're not allowed to like it. Because it's really bad.
Yeah. Got little to do with the actual game. Except for the fact that Dante's in it.
But he's not emo Dante. Clearly that's the best Dante now.
Okay. 0 out of
It's
10.
more like Spike Spiegel Dante.
You're a Dante.
You're a D-pad.
Ooh,
Touché.
burn. Got him.
Damn right.
Oh, look at all of this shit being tweeted out.
Yeah.
Do tell.
I'm gonna start using the hashtag Redleaf Retrocast more.
Hashtag RLR.
That too. Either or. So everyone likes the new logos and everything?
Yeah,
Looks-
looks pretty cool.
Looks neat?
Yeah.
Acceptable?
Yeah,
Hey, hooray.
that's good.
Just no
Sure is all
avatar.
better than anything I could come up with.
Just no avatar.
What?
Yeah, the
Just
avatar
no
is
avatar.
in goofy places that no one... That it's not for,
Sure, the thing is looking straight at our eyes when you open the groups you're in on Discord. He's just there.
Oh, what's with his arm? What's with his nose? What is that?
The bird, it's a plane, it's a... Ah!
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's my nightmare.
Eh.
Yeah, the avatar's just my personal little goofiness now, so... But the, like, Twitter and everything, it's got the more professional look now. Hooray!
I mean, you should totally do that the other way around.
Be less professional? Yeah, more viewers, yay!
I mean, it would fucking symbolize our podcast better.
I suppose, yeah.
Just, well, why don't you take a shit and then take a picture of it?
Well, look at the,
That'll fit perfectly. But we don't talk about that.
Look what I created.
I am so fucking proud.
Witness the glory.
Yeah, so if you look at the Discord profile picture, it's got the goofy little avatar there.
Yeah, I realized it.
Yeah.
Oh, it sure does. Fucking.
Yeah,
Can I
I
mute
need to
this?
get an avatar. I mean, the only avatar idea I have is like Scott Pilgrim in Doomslayer armor, but I can't draw for the life of me.
Well, don't be a D-pad. Come on. Do it. Make it
Well, then don't be a
hideous.
joystick.
I'll show you
I
my
am
joystick.
stuck with my top scholar. I can't do anything with it.
I'm sure you'd love to show me your joystick.
Ooh.
Not to say I'd love to see it.
You'd love to see it? Well, I mean,
I
who
said
wouldn't,
not to
right?
say. Ah,
Hey. Intro.
Talk about that.
Very suspicious hentai.
Hentai? Who said hentai? What about hentai?
I think he said hentai.
My
I think he must be watching hentai again.
I'm not watching hentai again.
Might need to do another hentai episode.
I love how you added the again.
How can I watch something again if I start watching?
You know, good point. You
You gotta stop watching the hentai too.
Yes.
All right.
Episode on Aiken. That's an absolutely ridiculous show. It's not hentai, but it's very, very heavily ecchi.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sounds
We'll
like
be...
my kind of show.
Corey, how caught up are you on Fairy Tail? Are you all the way?
I'm like 2 weeks behind.
Okay, so a couple episodes.
Yeah.
I've read the entire manga, but I haven't really watched much of the new season, as it's referred to.
Yeah.
Tits and ass the anime. Come on.
I mean,
Pretty much.
wait, have you seen up through 2014, or did you?
I
Just
believe
read the
I
manga?
have. I think
Okay,
I
so
saw. I think I saw up to the past the time skip,
okay.
the first time skip.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, I've read the entire
I'm sorry
manga.
for you.
Don't worry,
That's when it got real bad.
Yeah.
How can we make all these young... How can we sexualize all these young characters? Got it.
I mean,
Time
like,
skip.
fucking-
Make them age. No one else ages.
2014 was like Fairy Tail 2014 was rough.
Oh god,
Tartarus
yeah.
arc, the Tartarus arc was cool, and the at least a bit of a redemption, but there was just too much shit before that. And then it goes into fucking Fairy Tail Zero at the end. It's just like, yeah, fuck this, fuck this show. God damn it.
Yeah.
They fucking ended Fairy Tail Zero with, yep, and that's what happened. And after that, they all went and fought in the Grand Magic War, but that's not part of this story. I'm like, oh,
we can
time,
we can definitely talk about it.
part, and then you get to a fucking interesting part, and you're just like, that's not important. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
We'll get to talk about Fairy Tail on this cast because I finished it and I have the same mind, Tori.
I only
Hero
finished the
Mission, I
manga.
fucking hate you. God damn it. Make a new manga. Not the same one. Again.
Oh, God.
Reanimate Rave Master, for fuck's sakes.
I'm good.
I love Rave Master, man.
I'm
Good
sure.
manga.
But he
You're
remade
a
it.
Rave
It's
Master.
called Fairy Tail. And then he remade it again. It's called Eden Zero.
Oh, don't even go there, dude.
Then he
Rave
remade
Master
it.
is not that.
Okay. All right.
Rave Master is an example of an author peaking early.
You guys ready?
Just give me the countdown and I'll start recording.
Okay. Getting that countdown ready. It's coming.
All right.
It's gonna happen. 3,
I'll do it.
2, 1, go. Holy crap, it's episode 37 of the Red Leaf Retrocast. It's the anime cast. The worldwide weebs are here. Guys, we have reached triple digits. This is episode 101 in total of the Red Leaf Retrocast. You believe that shit? You believe that?
No.
Oh, man.
No.
My, how the cast has come so far, and yet fallen so far as well. And for this one, we're talking Vision of Escaflowne. That is our retro anime review. And for that, we have a special guest. It is Colin from the Retro Gaming Cast. Hey, Colin, how you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing okay. It's been a bit of a weird week up here in Canada. We got some snow yesterday.
Yeah, we finally got snow, or myself here in the RI.
Oh, cool. I just wasn't sure if anybody else in the States or even anywhere else in the country got it besides Alberta or British Columbia.
No, it seems to be snowing pretty much everywhere past couple days. But the good thing about New England is as soon as it rains at night, it'll or as soon as it snows at night, it will rain the next day and melt everything. So you saw a lot of people shoveling snow and leaves simultaneously while it was raining yesterday. It was pretty funny.
Wow.
Well, okay.
Still want to see. Never mind.
Yeah, never mind. We got Tori here, the best host.
I am here, as always. Not sick this time, so that's a plus.
Yeah, no one's sick on this cast. I think that's the first one in, what, 3 of them?
Something like that.
Yeah, unless, Hickey, are you hungover still?
No, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'm also fine. Just
Hickey
hot
had a
as
good
fuck.
time.
It will get me angry because I am sweating because hell is rising up to earth once again. Or as I call it, summer is almost.
Summer is coming. Well, that was my childhood living in Texas, so is trying to avoid the triple digits and not melting. I remember one year I left my tennis shoes outside, and like the left shoe melted to the ground.
Why?
Have you ever were preparing to go outside and you looked at the street and you see just cockroaches dying in the sun?
I have seen that before. I have seen that before, and a bunch of ants just eating it, and you see it kind of melting into the ground a bit. Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
It's never good.
Like a nuclear wasteland in Fallout 76.
If cockroaches that can survive.
Yeah, it's a buggy
blast,
mess.
just dying in the sun.
Noah Berg is joining us on Twitch. He goes, "I'll donate if you show your ass." Well,
JD, you know what you gotta do.
gotta do it now. No. I don't want a James Ellsworth situation over here. And for those that don't know, that is a wrestler who allegedly showed his penis to 16-year-olds. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Wrong country to do that in.
Oh boy.
So this is episode 101, and to commemorate over 100 episodes now, and coming up on 2 years in less than 2 months, we got new logos and artwork for all the social medias, the streaming sites, and it was from a guy named Craig from Mason Craig. So he was kind enough to do it all. We're working together on what we wanted. We got some good stuff. So I hope everyone enjoys the new logos. It took quite a lot of correlation between the 9 hosts of the Red Leaf Retrocast for people to agree on something relatively. So if you want more artwork done for anything and you like his work from what you see here, then hit him up on twitter.com/MaceandCraig, MaceandCraig, or want to see his streams, go over to the same name on Twitch. So definitely hit him up. He was very kind, willing to work with all the all the minor complaints and suggestions that we had. He even had to pretty much learn an anime style for us just to do some goofy avatar work for just our own amusement, essentially. So definitely go check him out, Mason Craig. Again, twitter.com. Hit him up for any artwork you want done. So yeah, thank you, Craig. Very nice of you guys, or very nice of you. Do it for us.
Yeah, fuck that other guy.
Fuck that other guy, Mace.
Nah, joking.
Oh jeez.
Just Craig. He's a cool guy. That guy, Mace, I don't think so. And then in other news, we have an ongoing contest going on for still a couple more weeks, going on through November. What you do is you leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher, take a screenshot of that bitch, send it to @BowlingJD, Red Leaf Retrocast, use the hashtag Red Leaf Retrocast, and you will be automatically entered. The other 2 ways you can enter is subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow us on Podbean. I want to get, my goal for that is to get us in more search results on Podbean. We're already like the 10th highest anime cast on Podbean. That kind of explains where our downloads come from.
All right.
Nice.
But we're still not, we're still, yeah, you can, if you search anime, we're like the 10th one that shows up.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
Later.
Yeah. We're still not quite showing up on retro gaming or wrestling, but we do show up on gaming on like the second page. So more people.
Which casts are getting cut first?
More people need to follow us on there. Leave some comments using the app. We'll respond. Might even read some of the comments on the cast for future use. So. Again, follow us on Podbean, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave reviews on Stitcher, iTunes. You'll be entered to the contest. And what that contest, the winner will get to do is basically choose an episode. Choose a theme, choose an anime for review, choose a wrestler, the spotlight on, whatever you want. That's what you'll win. So get the audience involved, get the fans more involved to commemorate 2 years. So.
Hey.
Kind of a spur of the moment thing, and it's we already got a bunch of entries, so I'm quite excited with the turnout. Got a few reviews, so hooray!
Was in fact so spur of the moment that even the other host didn't even know about it until after the fact.
I thought it'd be fun. It's more fun that way when it's a surprise for everybody involved.
We're doing a contest, we are.
Yeah, it's been going on for 2 weeks now. It has. All right, well, I'm gonna play a quick drop here, and Tori, you have a movie update. So.
Yes, I do.
I know too much about you. Are you still gonna kill me?
Yeah.
Tori, movie update. What do you got for us today?
Okay, then. So, in the time between podcasts, I watched a couple of movies. In fact, I watched 3 movies. I watched Barefoot Gen from 1983. I watched Nazca of the Valley of the Wind.
Real pick-me-up for the holiday season.
Yep, absolutely. We're only watching happy stuff here. And then, also from 1984, I watched Macross Do You Remember Love? Just kind of... I'm only going to talk about one of these, but I'm just quickly going to mention the 2 other ones, and I'm going to start with Macross. And Macross Do You Remember Love is kind of like an alternate telling of the story of the first Macross series. And kind of interesting. I like the things they changed, for some of them at least. I sadly didn't like the movie as much as I like the series.
I'm of the same mind.
It mostly comes down to, like, it's a fine movie if you've seen the series, but you should absolutely not start with Macross Do You Remember Love? There is so much that's kind of just like, oh, remember when this happened? Yeah, that happened. Move on. So yeah, it's weird.
I love that description.
There were some good character moments, like every once in a while, but generally, I think it's weaker. I did like it. I was kind of stuck between giving it like a 6 or 7 when I was rating it, but I did end up giving it a 7 because I do like Macross.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah, it's not the greatest. And I also watched Nazca of the Valley of the Wind. You know, Ghibli, Miyazaki, the environmentalist Miyazaki is back at it again. And yeah, fun story. Just generally nice to watch. And I don't really have anything more to say. That I'm not a huge Ghibli fan or Miyazaki fan, but like, it's a good movie, just straight up, really. And but the movie that I do want to talk about is Barefoot Gen from 1983, and that is because, for those of you that know what Barefoot Gen is, you'll know why I want to talk about it. And for those that don't know, I can just say I'm well spoiling too much, although I don't really think it's necessarily spoiler, unless of course you don't know history. Barefoot Gen is set in Japan in 1945, and not just in Japan, it's set in Hiroshima in 1945.
Nothing happened there.
If you know your history, you can kind of guess what happens. And
it was faked. Come on.
Yeah, and you're right. It's just a conspiracy theory.
Just like the Holocaust and the moon landing.
And there we go with the Nazi.
Gotta slip it in every cast, it seems.
Yep. Oh, well, anyways. So, I mean, again, you can imagine what happens. And I went into Barefoot Gen fairly blind. Like, I knew about the setting, and I knew what it was going to... I knew somewhat what it was going to be about. So I was like, okay, fair enough. World War II. This will be interesting. It's another war movie. Let's see what Japan does with this one. And then you get around the first climax of the movie, and the nuke drops, and... the things that you get to witness are absolutely horrifying. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't often sit there and just feel my stomach like drop down and just like be speechless of an anime. That doesn't happen very often.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can take some pretty fucked up imagery, but this was almost painful because it's like, this is based in reality. Like, obviously, it's exaggerated. Well, not exaggerated, but like the visuals are obviously not based in reality. But like, it's just like seeing that, and it's like, damn, this hurts. This actually hurts to watch.
Is there any starving children in this one?
I mean, there are. Yes, obviously, it's wartime, right?
Right.
And for those that remember, for those of you that remember the wartime, all the old listeners,
yeah, all those senior citizens of World War II that are listening to the anime podcast here.
Yeah. No, but like, there's stuff that I remember, like hearing stories from my grandmother, for example, where it's just like seeing them kind of, or they didn't even do that, but seeing people line up with like food coupons to get food and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my grandmother talking about that. And so there's a lot of stuff about, just generally how people survived during World War II, and obviously constant fear of bombing. So again, in his family, they're constantly like, the flight alarm goes off and it's just like, back into the bomb shelters again. And then nothing happens. Like, I remember my grandmother told me a lot about that happening as well. It was like just stuff that, if you've heard anything about World War II and the war in general, then you'll be familiar with things like these. But obviously, the horrific things that happen in this are just kind of unparalleled. And then especially reading a couple of interviews with the mangaka afterwards, because he is a World War II survivor, and he basically, one of the scenes in the well, actually, should I spoil that? Okay, so what happens ultimately is, from his perspective, there's a scene in this one where Gen goes back to his house to pick up his family, or the skeletal remains of his family, and that's not something you want to see. You don't want to see people fucking go and try to find their loved ones, their remains of their loved ones. But according to the author, apparently that is literally a scene inspired by his own life, as he was a survivor of the nuke, but his family did not. And he later went back to dig out his family. So it's a very, very intense movie. And, I don't want to use the word, I enjoyed it a lot. I don't want to use those words, but it is definitely a movie that I think is worth a watch.
Mm-hmm.
It
definitely is.
But again, just a warning, it is quite intense. So if you can't handle it, then I'm not gonna shame anyone if they get to that nuke scene and they're just like, I can't. It's hard. It's very hard to watch.
Yeah, when I saw it, I immediately thought of like all the old World War I and II places I went to in Germany, and Dresden comes to mind. When you first step out of the Hauptbahnhof, the train station in Dresden, you immediately kind of, as you're walking towards the town center, there's still massive craters that they're still rebuilding to this day, essentially, all around Dresden still. Because the first thing they actually did was rebuild a lot of the famous buildings, like the Frauenkirche, the women's church, and I forget what it's called, but it's like a big dome next to it or near it, and they have what they've done is they have the pictures and audio tapes of the time survived, and they have all the pictures of where everyone were huddling together before the napalm bombings there. And just the place was packed and people praying and singing. They still have audio tapes located where the couples that survived, and you just hear them singing as right before the napalm hit. So when I watch like Bear Again and what's the Ghibli one that Takahata made,
Grave of the Fireflies.
Grave of the Fireflies, like that's always what comes to my memory, is just being in Dresden and going throughout the city like that. That was the most impactful city I've been to.
Yeah, I can get that. Like I was in Poland when my cousin was studying to become a doctor. we went down.
Yep, doctor in dentistry. That's what Poland's known for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went down there, and obviously we went to visit some World War II memorials and stuff like that, and we went to like a World War II museum. Used to be an old factory there. And,
Yeah.
it's just like kind of going through all the stuff there, video, sound clips, again, just reading up on the history of the people there, reading up on looking at these old documents from fucking Nazi Germany after invading Poland, talking about how you fucking you've lost the war, you have now also lost your right as human beings. It's just shit like that. Damn, this shit was fucking harsh.
War, man. It's almost like yeah.
I know, but it's like
almost like it sucks.
No, I mean it does, but it's like you read this and you're kind of just like, you read this and you're just like, cartoon villains really do exist.
Yeah. Hitler, man, it's crazy. He was crazy. He was all coked up and or was it coke and meth? I forget. He was on a lot of things.
On that Jew hatred.
Oh, we'll get to it. You know what? We'll get to a coked up meth head crazy guy in Escaflowne later.
Or wasn't that? Yeah. Nah.
So what was that third movie?
I've said them all.
Well,
I've said
you're not gonna.
You Remember Love, and I said Noska of the Valley of the Wind, and Barefoot Glen.
Oh, so you're okay. So good movie. Yeah, I like Naushka.
I did too, but
Yeah.
I preferred Barefoot Glen. It's so weird to say that. Stop it. I really enjoyed watching Barefoot Glen.
Well, it's a good movie. It's just a tough watch.
It is, but it sounds so fucked up when you say it that way.
Well, Naushka is one of my favorite anime movies of all time. Like it's right up there, top 3 for me. I adore that movie.
Yeah, I don't.
Where does it stand for Ghibli movies for you, Tori?
Do
you not like it?
Second or third?
Okay.
Out of the 3 Ghibli movies I've seen.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. I feel you now. What about you? What about Hickey? What about you? You seen those 3 movies?
I've watched only macro. I don't care about movies. I have time for movies.
Okay, Sammy.
Oh boy.
I don't have time for movies, so I'm gonna watch 25 episodes today.
It's the diversity that I like. Okay. I cannot watch 25 movies in a day.
I never told you to.
Yeah, but you know me. You know I would watch 25 movies in a fucking day if I could. So I would.
You need to stop that.
Colin, have you seen any of those 3 movies?
The only one I've seen is Nausicaa. I have not watched Macross Do You Remember Love because I want to watch the original series first.
It's a good choice. We might need to get you back for the original series when we cover that in 2019.
Well, tell me when it's happening and I'll binge it. As for Barefoot Gen, I hadn't even heard of it until Tori mentioned it.
Well, isn't that why we're all here? It's to learn and figure out what old anime you need to go back and watch. And Barefoot Gen's definitely on that list.
Yeah, there's also a second Barefoot Gen, which kind of takes place after the recovery period, which is also on my movie quest. So that'll come up in a little bit.
Ooh, that one I haven't seen, so I'm very curious about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as for my thoughts on Nausicaa, I don't think I liked it as much as you guys did.
Just blasphemy!
I mean,
Get the hell out of here!
I just have a question. Are you one of those Princess Mononoke guys?
I'm more of a Castle in the Sky guy.
Okay, because like I've talked to so many people now, it'd be like either I love Nausicaa or I love Princess Mononoke, and it seemed to everyone I talked to that was like that, they hated the other.
Oh, weird. I mean, I love Nausicaa, and I also like Mononoke. They're both great movies.
That's why I just want to see if that trend was going to keep going.
Well, Mononoke is in my top 3 Ghibli list. but I don't hate Nausicaa. It just feels incomplete to me. It feels
You
like
know
the
what?
second half.
You would be fun. That was funny that you would say, because Nausicaa's based, or I said based on. Nausicaa's also a manga written by Miyazaki.
Yeah, I know that. I want to read the manga to get the full story, but I haven't had a chance yet.
Well, if I got my facts straight here, just from memory, in order for Nausicaa to be made a movie, they pretty much made Miyazaki make a manga first.
Oh yeah.
Just so they would have a source material to say that it's based on something for the movie to be made.
Yeah, but like even that wouldn't technically be correct, because like the movie came out 2 years after the manga started, and that would basically mean that they've been working on the manga and the movie at the same time.
Well, yeah, because he had the movie script and everything made first, and they go, well, we're not going to make this movie unless you make the manga, so we can say based on a manga. I think I'm pretty sure that's how it went down.
That's pretty lame, but alright.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Now this might sound shallow to say, but I feel like I would probably like Nausicaa a lot more if they rescored it with a Joe Hisaishi soundtrack rather than what it has right now. I know that's shallow, but honestly, that would kind of complete the experience. Like that extra little spice that makes everything good.
Interesting take. Interesting. Okay. Well, I have the first shonen update in fucking God knows how long.
You're doing a shonen update?
A shonen update, yes.
When did you start that?
When no one knows what JD is about to do.
So here's a drop.
I want to live! Take me with you! Take me away from here!
Okay. So, Fairy Tail final season just started. And I finally got around to finishing the Fairy Tail Tartaros arc and Fairy Tail Zero. And for those that don't know, this is the I guess it's Fairy Tail season 2/2014, and finally finished the last like 25-30 episodes, and then that also includes Fairy Tail Zero. And my God, it was I felt like I went on a journey, and more for the bad than good.
It's a journey.
It was definitely a journey. It was a task. I like sat down, had wrestling on in the background, and then it was so slow and so much filler. At least it felt like filler. And just
it is filler. Like, I mean, you could at least fucking speed through it. It's still a lot. You could at least speed through it. I watched this shit airing, okay? I sat there.
Poor bastard.
It has been months and months and months, and nothing has fucking happened. Why do I do this?
Well, I looked up like what's considered canon, and there's always something in every episode that they go, no, it's canon. You have to watch it. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And I go,
it's like a fucking line or something, or like, oh, but you know, in the manga they also went there. It's like, yeah, okay, fuck, I don't care.
And I don't. Maybe it's just me, or maybe it's because I haven't watched the show in a long time. But did they ramp up the tits and ass in Fairy Tail to 11 in 2014?
Well, not exactly in 2014, but the thing is, when Fairy Tail was getting popular, I mean, it is popular, but like when it was getting more attention, people kept bringing attention to the female characters, which they usually always do, because
of course,
characters. And you know, Hiro Mashima, the mangaka, he likes to draw sexy women.
I can tell.
I call them sexy, but really they're just tits and ass. They all look the same, have different hair color, but
it is A1 like, Pictures.
Well, no, I'm talking about the manga here.
Yeah.
This is
okay.
This is a Hiro Mashima thing. So he did that, and you know, when stuff gets popular and people are, they want to see this, they want to see some fan service. Let's give it to the fans. Let's give some fan service. And he kind of kept balling that up, kind of kept emphasizing their boobs. kind of then he eventually starts to fucking erode their personality and to like fit more fan service in, and then
yes, yes, he did
to go crazy, and then it's like people were really hyped for the fucking, or people like the OVAs, which is just fan service. It was just like, well, let's just give them full fan service, and then it goes fucking, you know, everything from bondage to fucking. It's just like, can we stop? Can we like dial back, please?
Yeah, he didn't dial back.
No, and he hasn't dialed back in the newest series either. It's kind of like immediately just like, look, Lucy's tied up. Really? Oh, right away.
You know, I do want to talk about that episode because I have watched the first, I think it's 4 of the newest season. Yeah. So for those that don't know, the Tartaros arc is essentially the big bad villain in the series is Zeref, even though they don't really touch on him as much as they need to. Nor
you just gotta know that he is a big bad, and
he's a big bad, but he's cursed.
He knows the leader of the Guild of Fairy Tale somehow, but
so oh well, yeah, we'll definitely get there, but basically the entire arc is over the. So Zeref created a bunch of books with demons inside, or devils, or whatever. And they all take on a form, and their whole, like, programming is to kill Zeref, and in order to do that, they need to unlock the last book, End, and that's, like, the strongest demon, and he's strong enough to, I guess, kill Zeref, but in order to unlock the book and unleash the demon, they have to get rid of all magic on Earth. And for some reason, there's this ultimate death pillar machine that's scattered throughout the continent. And it's not just one, there's thousands of them, and it's called Face. So the names are just really stupid at this point.
Yeah.
Well, this one in particular. I've noticed it in Black Clover, too. It's well, in Black Clover, everything's in German, but it's just the German word. So everything's named that way, like... My name is, I'm Vice, so the character is this super white guy, has white hair, and for those that don't know, that's white in German, so it's like, okay. They're
clever.
But very clever, right? Well, in Fairy Tale, they just go, this is called Face, this is End.
It's not End, it's E-N-D.
Oh, right, they have to spell it out every time.
Boy.
So it's, usually the fights in Fairy Tale is what I was kind of... It's battle shonen, so you always want to get hyped up for the fights and everything. These in the 2014 and at the end, just it seems like they're meandering around more than ever, and it's just to show off all the characters without clothes, because that's what seems. Yeah. It looks like it's gone full Ikitosen, where their clothes explode almost immediately at the start of the fight, and then they're just like covering their tits, or the men are always have their 12-pack of abs out.
Mm-hmm. Men,
yeah. God. Where was I going with that? Basically, they fight the demons. Natsu's gone full Super Saiyan at one point during the fight. Lucy is a celestial maid, so she has all the like signs of the zodiac and whatnot. And she like sacrifices one to get the Celestial King, and he, you know, when she summoned him, I thought he was gonna like do something, but he just kind of didn't do anything.
Yeah, you know, you can't just win like that.
Yeah, you can't just win by summoning the biggest, baddest zodiac figure of all time.
It needs to be Natsu, man.
It has to be these particular characters every time. The dumbest moment in this whole Tartaros arc was Erza. She's super powerful.
Not anymore.
Mage, but not right now, I guess. She's fighting one of these demons, and each demon has a curse that allows them to have a major advantage over. My cat hits the mic. Over who they're facing from the Fairy Tale Guild, and what goes down essentially is this particular person Ares is fighting, like, makes her blind. They say, I've taken away all of your senses, but I've dialed up your sense of feeling up to 11, so you, like, even the slightest wind will hurt. So I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. You can't say I took away all your senses except feeling.
Sure can.
So Ares is blind, deaf, feeling, or pain is dialed up to 11, and yet she still beats the opponent because the power of believing in friends and love. So it's like, oh my god, a really bad shonen trope.
She overcame everything.
She literally did. And then you get a little backstory with Gray. He's the ice guy. His parents were killed by this, but his dad's not he never actually died. He was resurrected via necromancer, like right then and there, and he developed. Makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
But that's how you give Gray, I guess, a sort of backstory and motivation for the future. So then skip to Fairy Tail Zero. They win. Hot shocker.
No way. Really?
And Tori, what did you know, before I get to Fairy Tail Zero, what did you think of the dragons finally appearing after, what are we on, like 260 episodes? Because that's what that's kind of like the motivation from day one is, I have to find my dragon. That's Natsu. I have to find my dad.
You know, he is the son of a dragon. I mean, that's established right away, so that's fine. But whatever. So, where's this dragon been this entire time? Dragons are gone. There are no more dragons. Where's his dad been this entire time? Well, he has been inside of him this entire time. So, when he is in trouble, he just goes out, and then he goes to fight END. Yeah, the two strongest dragons alive. They're after each other. Let's fight.
Well, he's fighting Arachnologia.
Yeah, Arachnologia, that's what it's called. Yeah. The dad dies. He loses because this dragon is the ultimate dragon. There is nothing that can beat it. It is the strongest thing with the fucking world. So
yeah,
he gets some damage in on him, but he can't beat him. So he gets killed, and then Natsu. Everything's up to Natsu, and this is where Natsu gets the first of his ultimately two last power-ups, which is going to make him the strongest character in the series. And you might ask, well, what happened to Gildars? Well, he is gone. Because the writer found out that he's not needed anymore. He's too strong. I can't have him here, so let's just write him out of the story.
Yeah, the Earthquake guy. My favorite dude, but he wrote himself into a corner, making the guy so strong.
Yeah. It's dumb. Whatever.
It is dumb.
I mean, I think they haven't really solved that issue because, I mean, when you go to the new series, Natsu is the new Gildarts, technically, because, you know, there's been another time skip, and Natsu's like, well, he's super fucking strong now. He's stronger than everyone.
Yeah, a 1 year time skip.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah, not the dragons thing. It's just... I don't mind that the dragon comes, that Natsu's dad kind of comes to save the day. I kind of expected that something like this was going to happen eventually.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just kind of pissed that it's like, I've been inside you this entire time. Your son has been close to death multiple times.
Yeah, what about when they were on Tenro Island?
Yeah.
You know, you didn't decide to come then when everyone was gonna get fucked up for 10 years. So, what kind of made me laugh, and of course, an of course moment was the dragons appear, and then they go, well, we're only here because we came out of your bodies now. Now we're gonna die. That's it. So I would explain everything to you, but there's just no time. See ya.
Yeah. You know. How many times have you seen that before?
Yeah, right?
Quick, there's no time.
Yeah, but there's time to have like a full-on conversation about other things.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is no time for us to have this conversation, but I need to know. No, we can't. We need to get going. Okay, so what are we gonna do then? Well, see, here's the plan. Okay, we're gonna have to go around there. We're gonna have to do this, right? And then we're gonna have to go and defeat this guy. But you have to take him up from behind. We can't get spotted. Did you get all that? No, I didn't understand. Okay, let me take it from the top. It's like motherfucker.
Let me explain it three more times. So then, while Natsu's dragon is fighting the big bad dragon, all the other ones that we've been waiting on were also in their bodies, and they destroy all the face death magic machine or pillars. So hooray! Then it goes to then it cuts. So everyone like kind of has a motivation. Natsu's like, I gotta go on a trip to get stronger because my dad died, kind of deal. So he just kind of leaves a note, a will, as he puts it, which I thought was actually a funny line. And then it goes to Fairy Tale Zero, which I knew nothing other than it's supposed to be an origin story of all the guilds, or at least the Fairy Tale Guild.
Yeah. Founding of the founding fathers of the Fairy Tale.
The founding, right? Yeah. So I thought the first episode was pretty good. It, it shows what's her face as an orphan with dead parents, because of course, anime.
She is so fucking happy.
But she has no shoes. But it's totally fine. And it just goes on this episodic journey where she meets like thieves just randomly show up at the island that she's been hanging out with.
They're not thieves, they're treasure hunters. And thieves. So they go on a little journey to get a jewel back that used to be on the island. So they go, okay, well, Blue Skull was here like 10 years ago. Like, oh, okay. Yep.
They go to
important.
Yeah, so they go to where Blue Skull is. They get the shit kicked out of them. But there's a lot of just, I guess, it's supposed to be bonding moments, but whatever. And they get the shit kicked out by Blue Skull, their one little mage. Then they come across Zeref, so I'm like, okay, now we're gonna get to the nitty gritty here. All right, here we go. And Zeref just teaches them magic. Teaches I even forget her name now.
Yeah.
Mavis,
yeah. Teaches Mavis this big bad spell, but it'll take 10 years to perfect, and we don't know the consequences. Like, okay, so what are the consequences going to be, kind of deal? Is that how she gets in her little stasis state? Well, no. She just can't age anymore, essentially. Does it say she's immortal?
No.
Okay.
I mean, she can't be immortal. In the fucking modern one, she is dead.
Well, that's what they claim, anyways.
Well, it's her spirit that's following them around. That's why she can't do anything.
Yeah.
It's like astral projection from her stasis body.
Stasis body is in the fucking... I don't know, what's in the stasis body, like, in the fucking grave, though? At Tenor Gym and Island, or whatever.
It was in the basement of the guild building.
That's where it was.
Yeah, where Markov's like, be prepared, we're gonna do something here, but be prepared to wipe everyone's memory of her. Like, why? What does it matter?
Yeah, that was another thing that made a little sense.
Because reasons. So basically, Fairy Tale Zero is filled with plot holes and...
No way.
And who gives a shit moments kind of deal. Just forget it, move on.
Plot holes, probably totally unique to Fairy Tale Zero.
Probably the most annoying part, the only good part I would say would be is when you find out that Mavis actually went crazy when she was a kid and used her illusionary powers to create basically a childhood friend of hers, and everyone's like, well, because you saved us, we're finally gonna come clean. We can't see this crazy projection that you keep thinking you see.
I fucking hated that moment so goddamn much. Oh, that pissed me off so much.
But there's also a plot hole there. So she creates this illusion. She has illusion powers that everyone can see, but not this particular illusion.
What the hell, man?
Does anyone actually care anymore?
Right. And then once they kind of go to acceptance, she just kind of has this epiphany, like, we'll start our own guild. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this is how Fairy Tale Zero ends. And then all these years passed, there was a big war happened, and everyone got together, and then this guy goes crazy because reasons, and he's actually the big bad guy from the original arc, and this is how this guy became the evil of this particular arc. So it's like, oh, you just explained everything just in a sentence from the whole series. Thank you, Fairy Tail.
Yeah,
Fucking,
really.
they're like, there was a big magical war, and I'm like, cool, are we gonna get into that next? No!
No, we gotta get to the BDSM episode where Lucy's in a basement with torture devices, and she's getting whipped, and her legs are getting spread out, and her clothes are being ripped off, and yeah, well, that's Fairy Tail 2018. Corey, why are we watching this show?
Because it's the only show back from when I didn't drop shows that I haven't finished yet, so I refuse. I need to.
Are you into the BDSM? That's what it sounds like.
I mean, obviously I am.
Obviously, I think I'm with you.
That's like the only reason why you watch Fairy Tail.
I think I'm watching it just because of the tits and ass at this point. I don't think I'm above admitting it.
No. It's kind of sad, right? Because Fairy Tail in the beginning, okay, it wasn't great, but it was fun.
That's
like,
what I thought.
There was some quirky shit going on, but like, yeah, whatever. It's just shonen. That's kind of standard. It's nothing unique, but it's fun. It's a fun watch, even with some annoying characters and decision makings and fucking still plot holes, but whatever. Like, you get through it, and it's just like, yeah, this is pretty much what I expect. And then as time passes, it's like, what happened, man?
Yeah, I know. I kept asking myself the same question. What happened? Why?
When did you just go like, I don't know what to do anymore?
Oh, he definitely knows what to do.
No.
Like, I have found myself. The other question I found myself asking all the time is, who is this again?
Yeah.
I mean, how many characters are there?
Yeah, exactly. And everyone,
40?
like, no one
50?
ever stays evil. That's the other thing.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I really don't like how Mashima handles the heel face turns, as the saying goes.
Yeah, hey, nice wrestling turn for you.
They're not
Man.
built up
Well,
properly.
Shit, nothing is.
I mean, it made more sense in Rave Master because they were being influenced by evil magic, but it seems like he's taken the same route towards redeeming the villains in here, but it doesn't make sense, especially in like Gajiel's case.
Oh, fuck, dude. Gajiel, that just reminds me in the fucking newest one. Gajiel just had a moment when they learn about Grey, and he's just like, that doesn't matter to me anymore. It's like, well, what if he's still on our side? That doesn't matter to me anymore. If he is no evil shall ever be excused. And I'm like, motherfucker, you used to be a villain. It's like, God fucking damn it.
Well, that's the whole series, isn't it? That's
like
what
fucking
every
Mosh-
evil person's like.
I swear, Mashima's forgotten that Gajiel used to be evil. He's just like, he doesn't remember that anymore.
Yeah, he's a fucking sadist. I mean, he beat the shit out of Lucy for fun, and Levy and her partners.
Yeah.
And then next arc, suddenly he's totally on board with Fairy Tail.
He's totally on board, and Levy's like secretly in love with him, but doesn't quite realize it.
She like being beat.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
He's a masochist. Just
Yeah.
like every girl.
Every
That
girl
show.
in that show's masochist. My God. All right. Enough about Fairy Tail. It's a tits and ass show. I ended up giving the 2014 a 5 out of 10.
Ooh.
And I think that's generous.
Let's see what I ended up giving it. Fairy Tail 2014.
I don't think
I give it a
watched
4.
20. Because
The
I've read
series
the
was
manga,
good
like,
until
I
the end of
want-
the Edelas arc for me.
I'm kind of with you there, Colin. I thought once Edelos arc passed, that was it. I should have dropped it. All right. So I have a question as a topic for everyone today. Gonna play a drop, and we can get there. Okay. So, this kind of goes with the anime we're going to be reviewing, Escaflowne. And as I was thinking about it, I go, how do you guys feel about the impact and importance to music in anime, especially retro anime? And the example, just some examples I have here is Cowboy Bebop, Fooly Cooly, Macross series, Initial D, just name a few. Who wants to go first?
Why don't you pick someone to go first?
Hickey, we haven't heard from you in a while.
Yes. I don't know. Music in anime is very important. Just like everything, animation. You need to build up a sentiment and emotion behind the scene you're watching, or else it's just two characters talking and might not be as impactful as you want it to be, and sell stuff of that anime after it aired. So it is quite important. Although nowadays, I mean, even in the 80s and 90s, anime is the pinnacle of capitalism, and everything is made to sell something, even the music. So usually we see the same kind of music in anime. You have a lot of soundtracks, a lot of theme songs, not that much of insert songs. I don't know why, probably because you have OPs and EDs compensate the lack of insert songs. But usually they are very generic for the show they are in. Of course, you have the biggest music people, like know the name of them, but that's fine. I wasn't paying attention at all because it's kind of hot where I am getting distracted anyway. But usually you have the biggest people, and they don't work that much. Usually work in 1-2 animes in a year. So usually you just stuck with the middle ground. The music's just there to fill some air, fill some blank space. There's a few problems with music in anime. In my perspective, is that usually sometimes you're gonna have this grandiose music in a very shitty anime, and you're gonna have this really cool anime with shitty music. There's no middle ground. When you got the middle ground, it's just there in the middle. You really don't need anything great when it comes to music, except when you're aiming for that musical experience, which we have from time to time in anime. But still, most of the time, it's made to sell something, made to sell a character, made to sell a band, made to sell a show. Music in anime, sometimes it's also kind of personal to me because it sounds so much. It sounds so alike to Brazilian music, and that's because in the 70s and 80s, Japan music straight up stole Brazilian music, and now every anime has at least a little bit of bossa or samba in the middle of it, but it's fine.
Okay. What about Colin? How do you feel about the impact and importance of music in anime?
I think it's very important because a lot of my favorite series have been greatly enhanced by having a really good quality soundtrack. I mean, there's obviously the Ghibli movies. Like I said before, Joe Hisaishi's soundtracks really enhance the experience. And then there's also stuff like Macross or Escaflowne today, being done by Yoko Kanno. Oh, let's not forget Cowboy Bebop.
Right.
Her music really enhances those experiences. And there's even One Piece that had a lot of scenes that benefited from having a really good soundtrack. Probably the pinnacle for me was the walk to Arlong Park early in the series when Luffy and all the others go off to battle Arlong's gang, and the music that plays during that is just so amazing. It's like fits perfectly, just brings up the importance of the situation amazingly. So I feel music, background music, is very important to creating a memorable experience. So it's not the only factor, but I feel it's an important. Maybe that's just because I was very music centered in my education growing up. I was made to play piano, and my art credits in high school were all music. That's maybe just speaks to my mindset. I feel it's important.
Corey, how about yourself?
I mean, yeah, I pretty much echo the sentiment said before me. Like, it's not even just specific to like retro anime. Like, music is important, like, because it does have the impact of just enhancing any given scene it's in. Enhancing the impact that it has, the emotional impact, the whatever you want. Right? Like, you could basically, and I mean, obviously you want a good soundtrack, but I'm just trying to think of stuff like even Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail has a fucking really strong soundtrack.
Yes.
Even for that particular series. The guy who makes
especially
the soundtrack.
when at a loss.
Yeah, the guy who makes that music, fucking, he's really good. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, sadly, but like, and yeah, it does enhance it. Even some Garo stuff, I remember. Like, I don't like that series, but when the action scenes kick, just that like really heavy music kicks in, and just like you can't help it. You get pumped up no matter what, because just like the music's so kick ass. Even though this is pretty shitty. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff like that, but ultimately, yes, good soundtrack is always like the Made in Abyss soundtrack. Really strong, really, really strong. Taku Iwasaki soundtrack for like stuff like Soul Eater, really good. There's
or Gurren Lagann.
Gurren Lagann has one. Like, so, but also, like Hickey says, ultimately the point of soundtracks and the point of more or less anything in anime is to sell. That's why you get the people. That's why they do the stuff. Like, everything that can be sold, can be advertised, can be sold, will be. So for a lot of them, it's not necessarily so important, and you feel that in a lot of anime. It's not necessarily so important with, does this music actually fit the show in any way? Or is it just like they managed to fucking let's strike a deal with some artist, and they're like, yeah, let's make the music. Like in the good old classic that Hickey made me watch when he watched Rio Rainbow Gate, Avenger, where they got like, oh my god, what is their name? Hold on, let me check. Let me look this up real fast.
Yeah, no, like as you check up, like saying, music is important. There's no doubt for that. My favorite music, it's not in anime, it's in 1940 Fantasia from Disney. Where you had a live orchestra playing the songs in the movie theater.
Yeah,
it is a big experience. We will never see something like that. Of course, in anime, like I said, usually it's very generic. You have good music. Don't get me wrong. Although I think they are usually generic. You have the action soundtrack. You have the adventure soundtrack. You have the romance soundtrack, the drama soundtrack. They're always some kind of soundtrack. It's really rare to see something that enhances the insert songs. For example, just like Kill la Kill. Kill la Kill, the main character, Ryuko, she has an insert song, and the other characters, they have a theme song.
Right.
But when it comes to the really big bad person, which is Ragyu also has an insert song. It's Blumenkai. Mistaken name. So you see both most important characters, they have insert songs, and they are antagonizing with the other characters, which have theme songs to make them iconic as well. You don't have theme songs for show like you see a lot in, for example, Jurassic Park or Star Wars. You have themes, music themes that make that show recognizable. In modern history of anime, I can think of Grozen Panzer, because you have the army songs, British Grenadiers, and the army goes rolling around, Panzer Lead, Katyusha, but you also have the music of Warai and Senshadow, which is the same music you have in the soundtrack. You have the same music with 6 or 7 variations, and it plays all the time, which makes it very iconic. And every time I listen to that, I remember Girls and Panzer. You don't see that much because it's preferable to spend your time to make a good OP and a good AD, which is gonna sell a band or an artist, than making a soundtrack, a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
Not about making a distinguishable soundtrack, just a good soundtrack with the generic score. Basically like that.
I mean, and that's kind of, again, back to my example, right? Because I watched Avenger, which Hickey made me watch, and they managed to somehow get the Alley Project, which is famous for a lot of, like, they did the opening for Another and, like, Phantom Requiem for the Phantom and stuff like that. They have a very iconic sound. You'll know it anywhere. And they managed to get them on board, and they were like, yeah, sure, yeah, we'll totally make your music for your show. Does the music fit that show in any way, shape, or form? Fuck no, it doesn't. You can clearly tell that this music was not created at all, even knowing what it was going to be used for. It is just simply put in there. And it is, I hate it because I like Alley Project, but not there. That's just like, I'm sorry they have to have their name attached to that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I remember when I was watching Kombini Kareshi, which is very average to below average, and especially with the animation and why not. But sometimes, like, the characters would get together, like, just hug, and this beautiful violin and viola score would start playing in the highest volume that could ever be put in an anime, and it's just beautiful. It doesn't make any sense to the anime. I think it's way better than the anime. The scores of the show is way better than anything the show, and just doesn't match.
So I want to bring this up. Since we've done a lot of 70s shows, I noticed a lot of those shows back then didn't really have so much music, like soundtracks, as opposed to like sound effects, rather. Let's take Future Boy Conan and Anne of Green Gables. It came out essentially in the same years, and like you have Anne looking at a luscious field with flowers and trees, and it has that. It's almost like that feeling of just a nice harp going over, and that's mirroring her feelings during that scene. And then there's the absence of those of the music in those moments that emphasize important scenes, and it's almost like it's the opposite as time has gone on. It's kind of reversed, where when you have important moments, as Hickey was saying, that's when you get like the battle music and the kickstart music. Like the Gundam series comes to mind in that sense. Again, around that same time, where when the White Base is launching all the suits, you get the you know what's going to start happening, as opposed to some of the other series we've covered, where when something happens, you hear more cuts. And take Anne from Green Gables in the schoolhouse when the snowstorm's hitting and they're all stuck in the school. You don't really hear music so much as you just hear wind blowing against the school that they're in, and the shutters are banging back and forth, and you hear that to give you a sense of dread and relate to the characters more. That's how I kind of associate retro anime more with music. It's that absence.
Yes, well, I mean, again, like it's kind of the same point that we've been making, that you're hitting on, which is like, why does everything require music now? Every single feeling, every scene, because they're trying to sell you something. That's why. And that's where, like, when I look for a good, I mean, I'm not obviously a good soundtrack. A good soundtrack needs a lot of good songs, and usually not rehashing the same song over and over again, which a lot of fucking soundtracks does. They have like one song and they have like 50 versions of it. But like,
I mean, it depends. It depends. If it makes
no,
the show iconic,
no, that's unacceptable.
It works with movies. It works with Girls and Puzzles. It can work if you make it work.
I don't know. We'll see. But like the point that I was trying to make is like you do still find when I look at obviously the soundtrack and the soundscape of an anime. Well, those two are different things, right? There are obviously times where I agree with JD. The lack of music is part of the soundscape of the anime, and that is used to emphasize a lot of like certain scenes can be emphasized by silence.
Yes.
Most people won't go that route because obviously that means they have nothing to sell here. But like you still find every once in a while, like again, I hate that I keep having to bring up shitty series. But like you have like Occultic 9. Occultic 9 is a modern anime that for some reason decided a lot of stuff to make some pretty good scenes. Where, for example, there's a scary part where they're walking through like an empty tunnel, and there is absolutely no music. The only thing you can hear is the character's own breath, as well as water dripping and her footsteps. That is everything. And you can hear it echo through the whole way. Like, stuff that it's impactful, but there's no music.
Yeah, like modern anime post 2000, I would say, they don't know the value of the silence. It's the sound of silence. Even I guess because you cannot capture the humanity of the characters, maybe they try to put those little sound bits, especially in Moe anime. Moe anime always have some kind of music playing in the background, like really low, in a very low volume, just in the background every time, because they cannot capture that humanity out of the character. So you need, and since it's not, since anime is not like cartoons, which are very sketch looking, and why not? You cannot just drop a bunch of sound effects in the scene and whatever. So you need, music, and why not you also tweak a little bit every scene. Although I think a lot of scenes would work very well with just plain silence, or a little bit of, I don't know, creativity on how to use music and how to use the silence as well. Because sometimes you're gonna have music playing and the level won't be right, and then the music will be higher than the characters. That happened a lot. That happened a lot in retro anime.
Oh yeah, you just reminded me as well, since I just kind of bring back my movie. So now when I watched Macross, Do You Remember Love? Whoever was in charge of the sound for that movie, like all of them, fucking fired them. They did so bad. Like the music is cranked, and the voices and everything else is fucking put at a minimum. Like they're so quiet, and the music is just fucking blazing around them. Like fucking, you're just it's like I can't hear them. Like, are they talking? I don't. Yes, okay, he's saying something.
So we got a comment in the chat here saying didn't have the budget to add music.
There are absolutely cases where that is true.
I find that more of an issue today rather than in the past. If it would come up.
I mean, yes, but like the thing is, like, it's not just like, oh, they decided to not add music. Right? You can add music, and there are plenty of hell. There are anime that use fucking like all royalty-free music and fucking free samples. Like you can get away with putting music if that's absolutely what you want. So, like, I don't necessarily think the money issue is that big of a problem all the time.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
There are cases where they decided that, or where they basically came up like they wanted to make a soundtrack, but they couldn't make it as big of a soundtrack as they could because they couldn't afford to make it. So it happens, but it's not like every time they decided to not put a song, they couldn't afford more. No, that's not how it works.
I think although it's kind of weird of talking about shadowing an anime, because usually they just rush everything in the last second. Music is usually is one of the first things they start doing, because when the voice actors and voice actresses they go, you know, record a scene. They usually have some sketches and some sound, and most of the times it's just the sketches, but sometimes they also get the sound that are going on in that scene to give them a feel for the emotion they should use to interpret any kind of phrase they need. So it's one of the first things, especially when it's an orchestra playing. They need to get a fucking orchestra and record them. So it takes some time to record the music. It's more about, I would say, more about the audio engineering and music quality that goes the money to. So you're gonna have, it's gonna be generic. I'm sorry, I'm being the pessimistic guy. This music, it's gonna be generic, but you're gonna have the distinguishable generic music and the just boy shit that is just the same thing every time. You really doesn't spend any money with it. So it's not much about the budget they had, because usually it's the same as animation. It's gonna have animation. It can be awesome animation or crappy animation. Doesn't influence that much. The budget, it doesn't influence that much in music. I guess it's more for to what they are trying to sell, really, what they want to emphasize and things like that.
As you know, you also get back to that fucking argument, just like art and capitalism just don't go together.
Yeah, there's sure a sense of that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a shame, but at the same time, you know, they don't go together, but at the same time, they hate each other. It's kind of it's an awkward relationship.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have much else to say. You guys?
No.
Alrighty. Well,
going to what Hickey was saying about the whole lack of music thing and how it's not really happening a lot in recent anime, I would like to point out that one recent exception is Goblin Slayer, because that had a few moments of no music that were used to great effect.
Colin, are you admitting to watching Goblin Slayer?
First 3 or 4 episodes.
I see you're a rape apologist. I'm joking. I'm watching it too.
Tori.
You know, unfortunately, they cut off a lot of the rape.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
Oh boy.
What? It's art. You should represent rape as it was represented in the fucking light novel.
Yeah, but they couldn't.
I'm looking at all the outrage, and I'm thinking, do not let these people watch Batum or Berserk.
I think it's funny because a lot of them have, and a lot of them, it's not the same.
That, or they just never watched an anime in their life and just looking for stuff to get angry.
If we're gonna use that as the people that are just out for the sake of being rich, even though they have no idea what the fuck's going on, you know, I feel like that's kind of the low argument to take, because there's always somebody who's just like, oh, I see people are being upset. I'm gonna be upset too. What are we talking about?
Yeah, it's always the hive mind mentality. Someone's angry at this. Well, I gotta hop on that.
Yeah, I'm just speculating here, but it seems to be a common thing.
It is, sadly.
I'll join the wrestling world. Oh my god, that is hive mind mentality at its finest.
Yeah.
Ooh. I had people, you know what, it's not even worth bringing up, so.
No, it isn't.
Stay on topic. Stay on topic, JD.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Yeah. I mean, Goblin Slayer, if Goblin Slayer had better, you know, direction, animation.
If it was a better anime.
CG, if it was good.
You know, just those little things.
Yeah.
Well, how's the...
That would have been fine.
People compare the Goblin Slayer to the Doom Slayer, so I figure, why don't I just play Doom?
True.
Yeah.
Well, one last thing I want to bring up is how. So we spoke about music and anime. I feel like video games are kind of in that same realm. How they didn't used to be as prevalent and prominent for like full-on soundtracks as they back in the day as they are today. You know, you had the NES music where it was just kind of, you know, think Mega Man 2. Every level kind of had its iconic little theme, but a lot of games just had, you know, a 20-second loop, and that's what you'd play the whole game. Adventures of Lolo comes to mind. That's like a 4-hour game that has one song on a 20-second loop, so you just kind of mute the game at one point.
I mean, that would also have something to do with limitation.
I mean, they were able to do it on Mega Man 2.
No, I know, but like, I'm
same time frame.
Just in general, like, you know, there would be cases where it's just like they wanted more, but they couldn't fit it.
Yeah, I suppose.
Like
That's true.
So
yeah, the game was much more larger and couldn't fit all of what they wanted music-wise on it. Well, yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, but I mean, you hear about it all the time where perfecting developers are just like, we had to cut that because there just wasn't space.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's the same with a lot of Rareware games, particularly Donkey Kong Country. There's actually like uncompressed versions of various themes from the game on YouTube.
Huh. The other, and you can see kind of that evolution, just like an anime, where when you got to the CD disc-based era, PlayStation, Saturn, all that, the music really got kicked up a notch. They were to add full-on soundtracks. The first game that comes to my mind always is Final Fantasy 7 and 8.
Yeah,
where every section of the game seemed to have its own theme music, and it's supposed to match what's going on in the game. You know, you're in the gardens in Final Fantasy 8, and it's this nice little, and then when you get into battles, you know, it ramps up. It fits the theme. Now you play games today, where you guys keep saying it's almost like they're always trying to sell something, or as Hickey mentioned earlier, where there's not enough, I believe you mentioned this earlier, not enough imagination, not enough creativity in it all.
It's like, oh, this is Battle Music 1 and Battle Music 2.
Right. It's on a loop.
Different game, yeah.
Yeah, which is less acceptable these days. I was just playing Fallout 76 yesterday because I heard the game was bad. I read it was bad. I watched streams and people said it was bad. And it was like,
I just went and played it.
Well, it was really
telling me it wasn't enough. I wanted to feel the shit myself.
Yeah, well, I was like so curious to how shitty it actually was. And on the topic of music, I get to the wasteland and I'm just roaming around. Nothing's attacking me. Nothing's happening, and yet there's this hardcore action music going on. I'm just running around the wayside. It's like death metal. I'm like, nothing's happening. So it's like, oh, I'm walking in my car, just cue that. That's what I felt like. It was so, yeah, the game is trash, and the music was like hilariously bad.
That's the one where you have to play online, right?
Yeah, and you had like in less than a 2-hour span, all of us that were playing it, there was like 6 of us on different PlayStations, Xbox playing Fallout 76, and all of us each got cut out from the server in the game at least 3 times. You
know what? Fantastic video games have really improved.
Right?
They're very good now. They're fantastic.
Oh man!
You know what else? Other games are fantastic. Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm totally not being sarcastic.
That's a good game.
No.
You don't like it, Tori?
No.
Aw.
I've never liked Red Dead Redemption.
Just not for you. You don't.
Red Dead Revolver is better than Red Dead Redemption 5.
Whoa! Come on! No one played Red Dead Revolver. Don't be crazy.
Shots fired. No pun intended.
Red Dead Redemption 2 is a beautiful to look at game that plays.
If you know what, good plug for the Modern Gaming Cast that just came out earlier this week or last week when this releases on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher, which you can leave a review and enter our contest. There you go. So Drew and I did like a short spoiler-free kind of initial thoughts because it's a 50-hour story-ridden game. And my complaint about Red Dead Redemption 2 was it's so detailed to a fault at times. Yeah. And Rockstar has a bad habit of shooting galleries in like the second half of their story games. Yep. What I mean is it's the same kind of just every mission always ends up being the same thing where it's if you're playing a game Rockstar game with guns, go shoot a bunch of people over and over and over again in the same spot until they're all dead kind of deal.
Kill someone. And kidnap someone. And rob someone.
Yeah. You got to kind of make your own. You gotta go out of the way to do a side mission or two, to make your own fun, and that's. So Tori, I'm not totally disagreeing with you, but I still think it's a. Anyways, let's talk about fucking Escaflowne for fuck's sake. Jesus, that's why we're here, right?
No, man, this is the video game cast.
This is the video game cast now, but yeah. Before you know what, I'll just play the drop and then I'll do this thing first.
Now, it's time we start dealing with the business at hand.
Okay, so before we begin our review of Escaflowne, the vision of Escaflowne, not to be confused with the movie, we are doing the TV show. If you head on over to iTunes and Stitcher, leave us a review, you will be entered into a contest that we're running through the month of November, and you will get a say on a future podcast episode, essentially. The other two ways you can enter is subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us on Podbean. So that's 4 possible entries to increase your chances. And what I failed to mention at the top of the cast, so if you're still listening, thank you, is you will get a shout out for every podcast episode that comes out in that month. So if you have a Twitch channel, a YouTube channel of your own, a podcast of your own, commercial you want to send in, it will be on every episode through that month as a bonus for being such a good fan. Such a fantastic fan. So, that being said, vision of Escaflowne.
Yay.
Colin, this is why you're here. You just had to be on it. So before we get to why, let me just run down what it is and when it came out and everything. So, it's a high fantasy anime. Came out in the spring of 1996 by Studio Sunrise. And the summary I've taken from Anime Planet. Hitomi was just a normal high school girl until she was taken by the mysterious Van Fanel and dropped into a world of romance, magic, and giant sword-wielding armor suits. Now Van, pilot of the famed armor suit Escaflowne, and Hitomi, whose hobby of predicting the future just became a frightening reality, must work together and fight the advanced technology of Zybok, a force who want to shape Gaia to their visions of peace. Follow Hitomi in her struggles against both these forces who seek to conquer this world and her own confused heart. Colin, why did you want to be on this episode? What does this anime mean to you, and what'd you think?
Well, I started watching it earlier this year when it became available on Crunchyroll, because I remember seeing ads for it or the original English dub on Fox Kids way back in like early 2000s or late 90s.
I do remember that as well.
Yeah, I just remember seeing Escaflowne, and I never actually watched the show, but the giant robot looked really cool. And then I also, over the years, kept seeing such high praise for it. And I got more and more curious as to whether or not I should see it. And then once I saw it was available on Crunchyroll, I was like, hell yeah, started watching, and I liked what I saw. I mean, the animation is amazing, the soundtrack is amazing, the plot's good, I really like the characters. It's just a great experience, and since I saw it was in like mid-90s creation, then I thought, is this going to be on the Retrocast? Then I asked you, and you said, way in the future. I was like, hell yeah, get me on board.
All right. I've noticed, I noticed immediately when I was watching this that the plot is surprisingly close to the video game Breath of Fire. If any of you have played that game.
Nope.
It's an old, it's an old Super Nintendo RPG by Capcom, and I did confirm there's no connection to the people involved in either. So, yeah, it's a surprise. The plot is surprisingly similar, like like 1v1 type stuff. Like, oh, Dark Arts Guild. Okay. Evil villain wanting to shape fate to bend to his will. Can you overcome one's destiny? Oh look, pretty boys in a group of 5. Kind of deal. a lot of similarities. Hickey, what did you think of the vision of Escaflowne? Or some standouts?
I mean, it is fun until they start to convolute the plot with unnecessary stuff. But beside that, it's quite fun. Surprisingly good. The music is also very fun to pay attention to. Usually you notice it in the battles, of course, because it starts very low, and then all of a sudden it just becomes these Roman Christian canticles as the robots kill each other. But yeah, very fun. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that got in the way of the story, and I think they were necessary. A lot of things were unexplained, and you just stays there. They're big things. It's not like, oh, that happened. Something happened, a little plot hole, but it's fine. You don't need to worry. Just don't pay attention. No, in Escaflowne, there are big things like why when you kill a robot it just liquefies. Explain that kind of thing. Why he only has psychic powers. Never explained it. Why Isaac Newton is the villain. They never explained it.
Well, you can infer a little bit of the whole
why gravity is actually used to manipulate the. It doesn't matter. The gravity stuff and Isaac Newton, it didn't really matter. But they put also little things like little relationships between some characters that were unnecessary. And as time passes, and the more you watch, the more you see those little things being placed in Escaflowne storyline tree, and that's just too much for the series to support sometimes.
I definitely agree with the with everything except the Isaac Newton one. Isaac, he there was a lot to infer. I think the story does a good enough job inferring like what his motivations are, why he's there, that kind of deal. How he got there is up in the air just as much as everything else, though.
Yeah.
Look, the way his motivations, not as a villain, his motivations to start what he and why he went there, they are very isekai generic. So
well, now it is.
He died. Oh, it just shows you that isekai never had to begin with. We're talking about 1996, and if we go back even more, we get another show that is quite similar to this. We get Isekai Dunbine, where the guy just got teleported, and that's basically what ReZero did. ReZero fucking Subaru is just walking from a combini, and he blinks, and suddenly he's in another universe. So like it just shows you that isekai, the way the character goes from this realm of this universe to another universe, they were always generic, no matter which era the anime.
Well, it's definitely associated with being tropey now, but not back then. But yeah, I had seen this originally. I had seen this series before Dunbine. And rewatching it for the podcast now, I definitely saw a lot of parallels between Dunbine and Escaflowne. That's for sure.
Good Lord, no. Let's just let Dunbine die.
Let's I want to concentrate on Escaflowne because there's a lot of good to the show. I feel. Tori, how do you feel about this show?
Oh hit me. Come on.
Remember how I said that I don't generally like
Jojo?
Like mechas. Well, Shoujo's fine. I generally don't like mecha and stuff like that. Now,
Yeah, you've mentioned.
Escaflowne is... I agree with that, actually. Escaflowne is fun to watch at times. There are certain things that, for me, pulled it down a lot. One is the kind of... What is now known, you know, the modern, like, reverse harem tropes of, like, all these hot men, and obviously Hitomi being the main girl, she is like, but I like all the hot men.
Well, yeah. Do you blame her? She's a teenage girl in Heat.
Yeah, I know, but it's kind of like, just like, I need to get back to my boyfriend, but then there's that guy, and he's so hot, and then there's this guy, and he saved me, and oh my god, but I want that guy, but there's this guy waiting for me back home, and I don't know what to do, and I'm like, okay, just fucking, I don't know, do something. I'd love to see you do anything. I really don't care which one you pick. And
but Tori, there's reasons for it. She's got a confused heart, confused feelings. She doesn't have her life. She doesn't have her life totally figured out. The Alan, the knight that saves her, looks incredibly similar to her little crush back home on Earth.
Yeah, no, of course, very similar. No, and then you got the guy like that. Then you got that. Finally, something happens. And what happened? Well, you know, the fate decider. I can change her heart and make her go one way. Haha, evil. It's like
love the elaboration on that.
Yep. I mean, that's basically what it is, though. Like, most of my problems with this show kind of falls on Hitomi as a main character. I really, really don't like her character. She is so fucking... I hate characters that are just there and be like, I'm experiencing all this thing, and as well as, by the way, I can tell what happens in the future after I faint. And,
after I faint.
I have these visions. Get it? Vision of Escaflowne. I have these visions, and what does that ultimately amount to? Well, for a long time it amounts to nothing, because obviously she's just like, these things I see, they can't be real. Oh my god, it's real. And she finally realizes, she's like, I'm gonna warn everyone. Guys, I have these visions. And everyone's like, yeah, right. Okay, sure. and then stuff happens, and then it'd be like, nah, coincidence. Please. You couldn't predict that. It's like,
that's not the vibe I got.
It's, it evolves. They do change, and eventually they're like, oh, yes, we need your help. Since you can predict stuff, can you help us? And she's like, no, I cannot. You're not taking my emotions into consideration. Girls. You can't bring them to anything.
I think
Don't you understand? Everyone is dying.
And then she finally decides, you know what? I should help them. I should. And then it's just like, you mustn't, because it's not visions. It's your concerns, and they come true. And I'm like, of course they do. It's like, it's not predicting the future. You are changing the future.
Well, in her defense, she starts to believe that as long as she has these visions or predicts them, then by doing so, she feels like she's controlling destiny or fate in that sense.
I'm aware. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's not my problem. My problem is just kind of like when she finally does something. Then it's like, that's actually worse. It's not a vision. It's you changing fate. And then she tries to change fate and then it doesn't. And I love that, by the way, I just love that when she's like, I'm going to bring luck to this. Oh, the fallout from that. Oh my god. That was so dumb.
That happened because I used all the luck. Yeah. Of course.
I thought the luck thing was with those cat girls.
So yeah, no, basically, I like the show, surprisingly, at least a little bit. But fucking, I really, really wish somebody would have reworked it to me a little bit, because I can sympathize. Like, I can sympathize with her in a certain sense. I totally understand. Like, I don't want to see people kill each other anymore, and I don't want to be a part of this. She comes from peaceful Japan. She's not used to this. So to a certain extent, I can understand her. But it is also just that part of, like, understanding only goes so far. And then she keeps going with that, and it's just like, okay, you're annoying me now, please.
So a common negative I'm hearing is everyone seems to think that, or they're on the side that Hitomi is a bit on the annoying side and the helpless female too much in the show.
Yep.
See,
no.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
Hickey, what do you guys think then?
It's not like that she's the fair maiden, always in danger and whatnot. She's just confused every time.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't make her mind. She's always confused. She doesn't know what to do, not because she doesn't know what to do, because there's solution A and solution B. And what she chooses is confusion. And the situation resolves by, itself, because she didn't do anything, because she was too confused to do anything.
She hits herself in confusion.
Except like the times that she actually said, I'm gonna do something, and it usually involves running towards the funnel angel boy.
Angel boy. Oh yeah, and then we have the fucking. Now we have that thing with Falcon as well. His resolution was kind of, or that part at the end, that was kind of like talking about like sudden fucking changes. That's like, whoa.
Colin, what is your perspective on Hitomi and her character?
I feel like I kind of
Oh.
disagree with Tori and Hiki in that she actually does have some agency. I mean, at the very least, in the first half of the show, when she gets visions of like Vaughn getting killed violently, she actually does something to divert that. Like in the very first episode, she sees him getting stabbed by the dragon tail, and then warns him against it, and he ends up escaping.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, when Delandau tries to snipe him, she pushes him out of the way, and he was able to escape death there too.
Yeah, but they also undermine that later on by saying that would have happened without her vision.
Yeah, kind of.
So it's kind of like that. It's the fucking. It's not like one hand. Yeah, she's doing something. That's fine. So she's kind of. But ultimately, the situation would have been probably wouldn't even have been a situation without her vision in the first place. But obviously, we will never know. But it's a problem I generally have when it kind of comes. It's like, well, you're the cause of basically everything. You are the cause and effect. It's like, it basically puts you in a position where you're kind of, which is kind of why I call her helpless. Like, because you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. There is no right answer. It's just ultimately comes down to that good old like, well, what's she gonna do? She just needs to believe. Like, yeah, of course.
Well, the way I looked at Hitomi was she was the overwhelmed observer.
Yes.
She came across as very realistic to me as a character. Yeah, she was a bit whiny, but I'm like, well, she had, her situation and how no one takes her seriously when she wants to be. She has her fluttered heart at a crossroads all the time, as would any teenage girl, especially with a bunch of hot dudes fawning over her at times.
I don't know, JD. I feel like you're not the expert on teenage girls.
Well, no, but it's a perspective. I feel that she is realistic.
Yeah, well, I don't know. One thing I find impressive in Hitomi's character is that she spent 26 episodes, I think 3 wars, and she didn't lose her gym bag.
Yeah,
that is funny. Yeah, she never lost her original clothes and what was in her gym bag the whole time. Did her clothes ever get ripped up horribly? I don't recall.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, she ripped a dress, but it wasn't.
It wasn't hers, so it's okay.
Closest thing to that is when her heart stops after having a vision about that doppelganger, and then Vaughn is pumping her chest to resuscitate her. But in that case, it was just her shirt being unbuttoned by Malerna. In fact, there's very little fan service in this show. I found.
Yeah,
Kinda
I mean,
refreshing.
it's a shoujo. Like it's
Yeah,
you would
it's kind
either
of a
get
mix.
you'd either get mail service or you get none of it. Like,
Well, you have a pantsless cat girl throughout the show.
yeah, but I
Yeah,
mean,
you
again,
don't see her.
that's
You don't see her
best
skirt
draws.
fluttering up all the time.
Just like, ah, but she's not wearing any pants. Yeah, okay.
She's also a cat.
Yeah, you got the other cats too. Like, so what?
Well, since we're on the topic of characters still, it kind of falls in that bishy boy trope trap at times with you got the suave knight, the stoic warrior, beautiful psycho, fallen angel. However, the redeeming factor of this is these characters, these guys in the show, are the ones that drive the plot, and that's why I kind of like Hitomi as the observer more than being directly involved a lot of the times. So that's why her character doesn't bother me as well in that sense, because Delandau is fucking insane. I love this character.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
I mean, are we talking prior to the big reveal? The big reveal was very dumb.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that was dumb.
That's what I was talking about. There's all those little things they keep throwing at the fucking storyline of Escaflowne, and I think it's very unnecessary. Like what happened, and he's like the lost sister of Ellen.
That is one thing, and that was dumb. The thing that gets me though is that like they try to play it off as a secret, even though you can tell right away. But like, I mean, not right away, but like the first time he switches back. But like, the thing that annoyed me more than anything is that fucking giant scar he has in his face when he turns back. What happens there? Well, it's gone. I'm like, motherfucker, he's not in a different body.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, some comfy stuff that happens. Like, you know what? There was a Bishoni dog as well, and
oh my god, yes, there was.
At that point, I was like, yeah, okay, you know, it's fine.
Tirandu sama.
I liked how the character of Delando had the reveal and the reason behind it. It really matched how Zybok was pretty crazy. They wanted to go against that empire that was there. And for those that care about spoilers, we do spoil the show. Delando is the lost sister of Alan, and what happened was Zybok kidnapped her, and because they want to change. Say what do you got, Hickey?
Her name is Selena with a C.
Yeah, and basically there's you come to find out that Isaac Newton wants to control fate. His name's Dornkirk. Isaac Dornkirk. That's what he goes by in this, and he's created a machine to kind of shape destiny and change fate upon their will, and
using gravity.
Using gravity in a certain way. And what happens is they do an experimentation on Alan's sister and gender bends her into a dude, and she basically has a mental breakdown in that sense, and is a crazy motivation to how psychotic Delando is. And when there's a certain fight in the series where Vaughn, I believe it was Vaughn who scars him, or has a scar on the face, and that's where that was like the driving factor to make her even more insane. It just keeps compiling on top of each other. I really liked Delando and how that character was handled personally. I thought it was pretty good.
I generally don't like the overly psychotic characters. Like we had it in like fucking Children of the Whales and stuff like that.
Well, generally there's no real rhyme or reason behind it. I feel like there was in this one.
There wasn't. I mean, in that case, there wasn't. But like the point is, like generally, I don't like the characters who's just like right from the get-go. It's just like, just murder everyone and everything. It's like, on one hand, I'm like, okay, I mean, I admire your motivation. You're definitely a go-getter. You just want to get out there and get the job done. I can appreciate that. Don't fucking hassle around. Just like, why should we sneak around and try to do everything? Why should you fucking wipe them all out? Fucking get rid of everyone. No, leave no one alive. No witnesses, and no one will know we did shit. And I'm like, you know what? You're definitely thinking of saving time, and I appreciate that. But on the other hand, come on. I'm not expecting you to have compassion, but it is just one of those when you're standing there and fucking screaming into the camera, like, murder everyone. I don't appreciate you. You're not cool.
Well, entertaining anyway.
Can be.
At the very least, in this show, it was done in a very entertaining way.
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate that she kind of disappeared after 8.
After she got spooked.
After she lost all
disappears for a while, and then he comes back at the very ending, just to end in the.
So there's a couple themes in the show. Obviously, we've spoken about it during this cast already, whether or not we are slaves to destiny, or whether we have the right to change our own fate, quite literally in this sense, which was a bit shocking to me, considering I didn't see a fate-changing machine in the future as I was watching the show. And then it's the realistic portrayal of personal battle of love, the right to love, what's important for the threads to tie. So what wore on me a little bit, and this is where kind of like it goes. This is what Hickey meant in like convolution, and maybe some things weren't solved or fleshed out as much as they should be. I wonder if these threads of love, as you might say, would have come together or made more sense in the conclusion if the series wasn't cut short, because it was originally planned to be a 39 episode series, but due to budgetary reasons, the director leaving to work on G Gundam had an extensive reworking of the plot, and the show was reduced to 26 episodes. But I couldn't figure out if this came like halfway through the show or something. I think it was reworked before the show was aired. So I believe that's why a lot of the plot didn't come across as, say, let's look at how Yamato ended, where they finally get to Iskandar, and then like 2 episodes later the series ends. I didn't get that same sense in Escaflowne, but I did feel that, you know, all these love triangles and hexagons and whatnot didn't quite come together or with any sort of conclusion as well as it should. Maybe some other side characters, such as Vaughn's brother, his whole arc seemed to be a bit rushed. Especially, he stuck out the most. So maybe he was just kind of one of those characters that got, you know what, he's not quite important to the main story, so throw him to the side, which I can sort of get behind, because I didn't really care too much about him myself either.
Yeah, I mean, sort of like, but the only thing that bothers me about that is that, you know, I feel like even with 26 episodes, you have time to do some things. I understand, well, and I kind of agree. Like, I didn't really feel like necessarily that there's some plot hole or stuff that I feel like could have been explained better, but like, it doesn't feel like, it's not like you said with Yamato, where it's just like a fucking hard cut and then it's over. So it's like, it's not that obvious, but there are stuff that I feel like even with 26 episodes you could do better, like, you know, what's his name, Falcon, like his thing, right, when he turns, well, good, even though he's been trying to get
he had a face turn.
Yeah, and it's literally, it's kind of like, just like when the cat girl's working for him dies, and it's just like, you know, he's just fucking, oh my god, this dude Dunkirk, he's gone too far. I'm like, you've been working with this guy and these other people, if they'd fucking slayed thousands of people and you didn't bat an eye, All of a sudden, 2 people working directly under him died, not through his work, through their own. And just because he didn't care, you're like, that's it. He's gonna pay. And I'm like, what?
Well, it hits harder when it's someone really close to you.
Yes, but even that was way too sudden. That was kind of like fucking. I don't know.
Well, Tori, when your personal catgirl slaves that are, well, your personal catgirl slaves, when they die, when yours die, I'm sure you'll have a major face turn as well.
Sure. I'll also turn around and go like, "Fuck you, Dornkirk!"
God damn it, Isaac Newton! I remember saying that a couple times in Germany physics class. God damn it, Isaac Newton! I said that to the calculus dude as well.
Oh no.
Fuck you, Leibniz! You piece of shit! You're causing me so much anguish! In a sense, this series is very meta for anyone who studied science at some point in any school.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah, come on, Isaac Newton being an evil villain? Come on, how many tests did you fail? Because of that motherfucker.
Yeah,
well, maybe if you were good at it, no.
Physics.
No, I was good in school. Almost straight A's. Not in college, though.
Fuck college.
So let's see. What did everyone? The romance elements in the show wears on a lot of people. It seems. Did it get any of you guys as well? For me, it just because of how realistic it sounds, or to me it was. It was portrayed as realism.
I mean, Kazuma, the guy in Earth, Kazuma Senpai, he was straight up forgotten after 3 episodes.
Well, good.
Just straight up forgotten. I was like, okay, because someone who looks a lot like him, but you know it's better, appeared, and she's like, fuck that guy on Earth. Here's the good deals. Ellie, I think that's his name. The Bishonen, blonde-haired warrior.
Alan.
Yeah.
Alan Shessard.
So,
You know, when I first saw his name, I thought it was Alan Shear.
Alan Shearer. Yep.
I was like, damn.
his whole purpose in that anime was to fuck every single woman from the same family. And he almost did it.
Yeah.
But the middle one didn't care for him.
He's an Alan is a strange character.
I mean, he cooked a fucking king. So I guess he could just fuck her there. It doesn't matter.
I'm in love with your sister, but I don't know if I'm in love with you, but I'm kind of in love with Hitomi as well. So maybe I'll... Oh, but wait, that girl, that princess is actually marrying this guy who's not actually in love with him. She's in love with Alan, but won't admit to it. And, oh god, it just goes on and on.
I love how they fucking just eventually being like, so how do we solve this? Well, I mean, just get her in a political marriage. I'm like, yeah. I mean, it would have to happen eventually.
Yeah.
And then that guy fucking runs away at the end. I didn't see that coming.
I'm not worthy of you.
I'm not worthy of you. Now I'm gonna peace out while this fucking country destroys you. What a brave man.
Refugees, bye.
Yeah, I feel like episode 19 was where the show really jumped the shark for me. That last bit, the whole dramatic scene with Hitomi and Alan and the Fate Machine was so overblown. I was almost laughing at it. Just that.
I still don't understand why fucking Falcon and that cat girl had to fucking reenact it. Why did they need to do that?
Because you know, you connect with other people by gravity and alters.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Of course.
I was expecting magnets to somehow come into play. Like, no, positive and negative attract, don't you know? And that's how gravity comes into play, and then physics, reason, science.
Yeah.
You know, everyone knows if you go into bestiality with your engineered cat girl, you're probably gonna link to someone in Japan or other side of the world, and they just fuck as well.
Come on, Elon Musk.
This is basic science.
This is basic science.
Elon Musk, John, we need you right now.
You're our only hope.
Build a fate machine.
Fuck the fake machine. Build me a fucking cat girl. I don't give a shit.
Solve world hunger? Fuck no. Make me a cat girl.
Wow.
Engineering cat girls for the mass take, probably.
I think my one major issue with the show was where I noticed it was probably rushed was the series could have definitely fleshed out how the fuck Hitomi is able to travel to and fro Gaia and Earth.
Which
because of
her wish.
Gone.
Well, at first you think it's the pendant, but then it's not the pendant because how did her grandmother get there? But then it was because she was summoned by Vaughn, but he just that didn't actually happen or reasons, and then no, she can just wish. Well, then why didn't she just wish before, kind of thing? I'm sure she was wishing to get the fuck out of there multiple times.
Well, she did. She wished herself back to Earth, and then for some reason that reset time, and then she gets brought back, even though fucking Vaughn just flies to Earth on his fucking dragon. Like, what the hell?
Well, yeah, it really doesn't make sense. It's very convoluted. That was that.
Yeah,
I kind of just yeah.
Guys, there's one simple explanation here. Oh,
what is it?
It's pure force of will.
Oh, of
the
course.
Kingdom Hearts explanation.
Of course.
You just believe hard enough, your shit will happen.
Believe in the heart of the cards.
That's basically the explanation for Atlantis's power. Pure force of will.
Yeah, the wishing.
Every anime we reviewed here, like retro anime, that ended up with something about the psychic powers, it is always the power of will.
Is that a Takahata? I think that was a Takahata quote where he goes, "Too many. The problem with anime is the power of love will conquer all without actually resolving anything."
Yeah.
Or the attempt to, kind of thing. I think it was Takahata who said that.
Probably.
Yeah.
That is actually very accurate.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, you also have the Vaughn connecting him heart, soul to Escaflowne, and it's like if Escaflowne is damaged, he would suffer the damage. So,
I quite like that.
Like, why?
Yeah, I kind of liked it.
I mean, I just don't like.
They're like, let's grind and beat the shit out of this robot so we can fix it, and Vaughn is just suffering in the corner until Escaflowne is good to go, and Vaughn is like, I'm fine. Let me just enter this robot and go full berserk mode.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't like the fact, you know, when they brought in the like, oh, you didn't know there's a switch on the side there that calls in the people that built it. They can fix it. You'll be fine, probably. And I'm like, even though like well, as much as I appreciate
probably.
Like, probably, as much as I appreciate, you know, there's a chance that he will die. Well, but it's anime. He won't die.
I didn't have a problem with that.
I did.
What were your guys' thoughts on the CG dragons? Luckily, they only showed up a couple times.
CG? Oh, those ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the dragons.
I didn't have a problem with it.
Me neither. Like, I mean, I've seen far worse.
Yeah, it is 1996, so.
Yeah, it's like I'm just like it doesn't bother me. Like, I'm used to it.
Still better than Berserk. Ah.
Still better than Berserk.
Yeah, the new one.
Still better than Goblin Slayer.
You don't need to make any four to be better.
Okay, the mechs themselves, this is where Tori, I guess, will bow out. I love the sense of weight used throughout. It really seems like the mechs are carrying heavy weapons, a clear strain on the pilot, consistent use of animation throughout them, especially in the 1v1 fights. you know, it wasn't just they were going a million miles an hour, kind of like what Gundam series do. They're just flying at breakneck speeds. You know, no G4. Everything. There's one scene in particular where the Escaflowne has just that massive sword, and you know, you can see the fire and buildings all crumbling down in much quicker speed, while the mechs are going much slower. And then as soon as some momentum is built through the motion of swinging the sword, that's when it comes down a lot faster. That was nailed throughout the entire series. I really loved that.
Yeah, I mean, you can have that sense of weight in the first battle between Alan and where like every movement he makes inside of the mecha, it kind of shows you how it transfers to the actual mecha moving.
Yeah,
very interesting. It is interesting when the design of the mechas are good as well.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Mechas, how superior they are, and they make sure to show you and make sure the characters talk about it. The cloak of invisibility, those kind of things. They talk about it, and they don't know what's going on, and how those mechas are sort. It's not only the mechas. I think you have the flying fortress as well, and the little, airships, which makes those float rocks as part of the structure. Very interesting designs. Very interesting.
Yeah.
The only problem I really had with the mechas, you know, when someone dies. Oh, by the way, when someone dies, they show you the inside of the mecha and everything crushed or catching on fire. Very good.
Oh, hell yeah. Nice use of blood and facial expressions on the characters.
Yeah, my biggest problem really is when a mecha is destroyed, it's liquid and it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Liquid metal. That was the weapons they used.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I think the thing that kind of this annoys me. Like, this is just a minor. Like, it's not a huge issue, but it is a minor like annoyance. I have a lot of things. I understand a lot of the mechas having capes, especially because invisibility cloaks and whatnot. That's fine. But why the fuck does the Escaflowne wear a cape? It's so unnecessary.
What do you mean, why? You have to wear a cape, Tori.
The dragon used it for wings, which again, okay, fair enough, that works. But I hate that. I fucking hate the it's standing up, but look at the cape flowing. It's like, it's not a fucking, it's not a superhero. God damn it.
Of course it is.
Superman.
It's more about the status of whoever is using that man. It's
not
fuck that cape. Fuck that, get rid of that shit. That's just in the way.
I realize now that we're talking about the battles, why the warriors were called samurai?
Were they?
That was very random.
They did call them samurai. I think what annoyed me the most was when fucking Vaughn had that confrontation with Alan, and Vaughn calls Alan a samurai even though he's a knight.
Oh, weird.
I thought that was fucking odd.
Oh, I do remember that.
He accepts himself as a samurai, but he is a knight. You're confusing.
I thought it was that he was trained by a samurai, but became...
No, I know he was trained by a samurai, but still, it's kind of like, they had a talk about the way of the samurai and what. Just fucking fuck you.
Yeah,
you're a knight.
And he told me he's looking at a bunch of guys talking about how they are samurais, and she's like, she doesn't even bat an eye. She's inconsistent.
Well, it's normal to her, I suppose.
She's from Japan. She's from Samurai Land.
Samurai Land.
Whenever I travel to another universe.
Whenever I travel to another universe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Thursday. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Oh, this is the land of samurai. It's like, no, it's not. It's not even the same fucking universe. The fuck?
Yeah, really. Yeah,
so, oh yeah, go on, Colin. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree with what you and Hickey said. I really like the steampunk / Magitech design of these mechs. It's like there's a lot of detail put into how they're operated. Like occasionally you'll see a gear turning or something sliding along a track within Escaflowne to show how it's moving, or just how Vaughn's hands are moving to make Escaflowne move. And may I just say, the the enemy Gaimelefs, that is the giant robots, they look a lot like Zaku warriors from Gundam.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah, I thought this was more designed after Macross, but I guess they took some cues from Gundam too.
Gundam, Dunbine, it was a conglomeration of them all.
Yeah, I think Shinichiro Watanabe was part of this production too.
Well, as Tori said, it's Sunrise, so.
Yeah, it's not to say I'm a mecha aficionado by any stretch. I've just seen enough of them to know what resembles what.
The good thing about mecha, you have a bunch of types of designs, and I think the best ones are the practical ones. They are actually practical. They actually work, and those mechas in Escaflowne, they actually work. How the unit, the pilot rests in, when it opens, how the person slides, how the person is queued inside of the mecha. Everything is very well detailed, and they make sure to show you at least one time how each mecha behaves.
Yeah.
And how each mecha functions, and they are very practical, which is very good for a mecha. It's not like the early Gundams, which look like people in costumes fighting in space.
I like how Vaughn enters the Escaflowne, like that first scene where it looks like a bug's thorax is opening up real hard and there's steam coming out. They're standing in front of it. Very cinematic, and the show always tries to give you that cinematic moment for big scenes.
Yeah.
So
like when he tries to make it go hyperspeed in flying mode, that was done pretty well, I think.
Background art is very good. I thought it was good use of pastel colors and gritty palette, just like the 90s. It fit the show quite well. Not expecting it when you think of a shoujo anime. Very different.
I think it was originally designed to be a shonen series, but then when the G Gundam director left, they brought on another director who was more shoujo oriented, and then, in fact, Hitomi was supposed to be a completely different character originally.
Yeah, I'm sure it was supposed to be a guy, and then all the other pilots were women. I'm sure that's how it would have went down.
No, it's more like her original design was Wikipedia says she was going to be a curvy, airheaded, long-haired girl with glasses, but then changed to the design we know.
Oh, thank God! Thank God they didn't go down that route.
Right now.
I agree.
Although I wouldn't mind to see that.
I mean, like, if they want to make an alternative version that's like an episode or two, sure, like go for it. I wouldn't mind. But I'm not gonna watch a series about that. Fuck that.
She would be the princess.
Wow.
Just change the character.
Well, you definitely can't do an entire review of Escaflowne without mentioning the amazing noses in the show.
Yeah.
Bring back Gnosis, please. And also, while you're at it, please get rid of that like weird thing they do where they draw the nose in like a sharp out to the side, and then they do the exact same fucking angle on the other side. It's just like, what is that supposed to be? The nose, or is that the shadow, or like I don't understand. That makes no sense. Just fucking. I appreciate it. I like Gnosis. I'm a huge fan of Gnosis in anime.
I prefer my women with noses. I know, controversial opinion there.
You're making a joke, but it's true. Everyone's like, nah, man, the modern moe faces, they're so much better. They're so much cleaner. Yeah, because there's nothing there. It's a pair of eyes in a mouth.
It's true. It's so true.
It's a universal language. Just eyes in a mouth. You look at bowls and doors, and you see two eyes and a mouth, and everyone understands that. So let's just translate that in modern anime. Of course, everyone's gonna love it. It's not about the lolicon and porn stuff. Of course not. It's about the eyes and the right of the nose.
Exactly. So yeah, fucking. I'm totally on board. Like, some people, like, I talked to some people, and they were like, "Isn't it too much, though?" And I'm like, "Motherfucker, I like kaiji Gnosis, okay? Like, I'd rather everyone had a kaiji Gnosis. This is fine."
Oh my god! Can you imagine K-On! But with fucking kite noises at the end? That would be terrifying. That would be terrible. That would be...
I'd actually watch it then.
Damn.
So the last point I'd like to bring up, at least for me, is I think the series' strongest point, in my opinion, is the music. Kind of like our topic earlier. Constant use of orchestral music throughout the entire series. Mix of pop, instrumentals, Gregorian chanting, invigorating choral pieces, the track Dance of Curse. And yeah, I looked up the names of a couple of these. That's used during key Escaflowne battle scenes. Really gets you knowing like shit's about to go down with the Escaflowne. Really gets you a sense of what that particular mech is all about. The orchestra and fantasy sounds in particular gives off a good sense of dread and seriousness to match the tone of the show. I feel like it never strayed from that. The Zybok, Evil Empire, is played with DeLandau's appearance, so it matches the maniacal personality of the character going on. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Every sense of the characters involved had their own matching theme, essentially, and it really brought the show to the next level, at least for me.
Okay,
Yeah.
I like the music in the show, but I will say there is one song in the show that kept driving me a bit crazy.
Okay.
And that is the fucking Escaflowne. Every time. I hate that. Like, it reminds me, every time I heard that, I couldn't stop thinking about the Berserk 2016. Blood and guts and guts. Like, I just had that playing in my head the entire time. It's like, it's not quite as bad.
Don't bring your scarring from other series into Escaflowne.
No, that's what like, it's not quite that bad, but it is still like fucking, like, I heard it a couple times. Like, I didn't mind it at first, but then I started hearing it every time, and I'm just like, stop.
Yeah, you had some PTSD from that other show. It brought back horrible memories here. Come on, Escaflowne. Come on, that's awesome.
No.
It's awesome. No, you're crazy. Colin, back me up here. Hickey, come on, back me up.
I prefer.
Well, I like the Gregorian chanting. It was kind of overwhelming when it started. It started a few times, but no. The opening and ending, they're very good as well. They are very iconic. The opening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the opening I really like too. I would very firmly name it as one of my all-time favorite anime themes.
Wow. Well, as we do the anime we review, the intro song is always how the episode begins. So.
Yeah, the ending.
Every time I watched it on Crunchyroll, I never skipped the opening. It's that good.
Yeah, it is very good. The ending is very Shoujo.
Yeah.
The ending is like the only thing that doesn't match.
Yeah.
Selling music. That's what anime does.
Yeah.
Yeah, selling. Yeah, but the ending as well. The music is usually used as support to the scenes, which is great. Doesn't overwhelm you or try to steal the spotlight from the characters, which is eventually you come to realize, saying that they're the best part of the show. The interactions and why not, except when they do, because when they do dumb stuff, they do really big dumb stuff. Like Alan, after on episode 23, Alan just come out of nowhere and say, hey, we met Chid, that kid that we met on episode 12, and on episode 13, everyone discovered it was my son. Yeah, he is my son. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anymore, but it's okay, fine.
I need to come clean. Why now? Everyone knows.
I was expecting Hitomi just to go, yeah, no, I saw that in a vision. I am give that.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's okay, champ. And just he's back. Anyway. But the music that stands out the most probably the Gregorian chant in Latin. Every time Escaflowne would fight. Because it would start out of nowhere. You'd have the instrumental and the orchestra playing, and suddenly you just have this going full, talking about the Holy Spirit and Jesus in the background. Very good song. Very good music. And Escaflowne, the Escaflowne theme is very good as well. Fuck you, Toy.
No, it isn't.
Screw you, man.
That's how you want to end a review. You don't agree? Screw you.
I am best host. I will not be talked to this way.
Corey's slowly becoming the Isaac Newton of this cast.
Come at me, bro.
I'm the Isaac Newton.
You're the Isaac Newton. You were the evil physics genius.
Who's gonna get the dumb death killing him? No one?
Say?
With the tip of the sword just breaking and going.
That was dumb. That was so dumb.
No one who volunteers should kill Tori and have the sword, your own sword killing you. No one volunteers, I'm fine. I can do that. It doesn't matter anyway. I might just get teleported to a isekai world anyway.
You'll be teleported to an isekai world with your smart.
Yeah, well, I mean, as long as I'm the smartphone guy, I'm fine. I don't want to be any closer to this to the that series is just bad. Shut up, sorry. Don't remind me of that. But yeah, that for
Did anyone else have Wonder Woman flashbacks at the very end of the series?
No.
With the whole zone of absolute fortune?
No.
Zone of absolute. I'll show you my zone of absolute fortune. No, I didn't. I did not get any Wonder Woman flashbacks.
It just kind of reminded me of how the live-action Wonder Woman movie ended. It's like the big bad is defeated, and then all of a sudden everybody's lust for war disappears and shit like that.
I see.
Well, I guess without Isaac Newton around, the lust just disappears. In all aspects. Well, I'm ready to score it. Is everybody else?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to point out one last thing.
Go for
I
it.
found Vaughn to be a rather refreshing male lead in that he's a hothead, but he's not unreasonable. I mean, he's kind of a dick to Hitomi in the first episode, but then shapes up right after when she smacks him. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can somewhat agree.
I liked Vaughn. I liked Vaughn.
He is, like, especially that kind of like when it's just like. One of the things I do like about the series is, like, for example, with Vaughn, the thing that, like, you know, he kind of hates his brother, but he doesn't hate his brother because he's just kind of confused. Like, it's kind of like it's that thing that, like, he doesn't. Yeah, he's just angry, like, because everybody's been talking shit about him the entire time, and the way he's such a pussy, and he's just like, he's confused, right? Because it's just like, why did you do that? Like, I don't know why. Like, he's mad because he doesn't know or understand why. Like, it doesn't make sense to him. And then it's like he doesn't know how to channel that, so it just becomes anger. And it's like, I need to kill him. Why do you need to kill him? I don't know. I just do.
Yeah, I can get behind that claim as well. He stays very true to, even in conflict, when he's not sure what to do, what he needs to do, he still stays true. Even after Falcon appears and say, look, you are wrong. Fighting is not the solution to everything. Even with that, he kind of gets suspicious. He still has his suspicions over his brother. But even with that, when they're discussing how the war will go, Vaughn says we need to go and we need to kill everyone. Still, even after being told that fighting is probably not the best solution. He still say, yeah, probably it's not the best solution, but it's the solution I know, and it's a solution. So if we go to sci-fi and kill everyone of the bad guys, we're gonna end the war, we're gonna be victorious, and then we can achieve the peace. My brother said it is important. What? So he's very true to his character no matter what happens, and that is very, very good. He doesn't break his character and out of sudden. He's just a new character out of nowhere, which happens a lot. So yeah, I can get
You're right about that.
Very refreshing character.
Yep, I agree. Like I said, hot-headed but not unreasonable.
Okay, I'll go first.
Go for it.
I really like the overall plot. I thought a lot of the characters, despite the Bishi baselines, I guess you could say, I thought because these characters drove the plot and they weren't, as you said, Colin, unreasonable in much of what they did. Isaac Newton was a little bit ridiculous, but I kind of like that. Really liked DeLandau. I love the music in the show. I think that is what sets it apart from a lot of other shows out there. The background art was extremely detailed. Was not expecting that, especially coming from even the mid to late 90s. Not to the extent that we saw here. I mean, occasionally I would see it in like movies and OVAs in the 80s. But this was lots of things about the show was very refreshing. I felt that, yeah, there was plot holes and some things were rushed, or at least some convolution in there. It wasn't damaging enough or me really feeling the need to truly care, because everything else that mattered was hit. That's my take. So for a podcast first, and yes, I checked, this is my first 9 out of 10 rating I'm giving a show.
Nice.
Who's next? Colin, you go next.
Okay. Yeah, like you, JD, I like this overall. I feel like the best part of the show was episode 18 and before, because after that, everything just kind of gets a little rushed and convoluted, but I didn't consider that part of it bad overall. And yeah, I like the mecha. I love the music. I love the animation. It's like Trigun level, maybe even better.
Say it's better.
Yeah, DeLandau was very entertaining. All of the characters were very realistic and reasonable. And yeah, I'd say overall, it has a good balance of like shonen and shoujo elements. Kind of like Inuyasha, honestly. Although this is probably the superior series.
I would agree.
Yeah, although I have fonder memories of Inuyasha because I watched it earlier in my life, but I'm getting off track. Overall, I would give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hickey, you go next.
All right. As you guys said, it's a good base. The basic story, very good. Unfortunately for me, like I already said, they kept adding things and adding things that first didn't achieve anything. Second, it only made it convoluted. Third, when you actually, when sometimes when we watch a show to review, we kind of talk to the show. Why did you do that? And expect an answer from the show to some aspects. And most of the answers for those little things are, don't worry about it. We are not going to show you. It doesn't matter. And that's very damaging for sure. Although I don't think it's like heavy damage, it's just a little dense in how the story progresses and what you should actually focus on or pay attention to. When you're watching, you keep getting distracted by those flashy popping out in front of you.
Sure.
The music's good. There's nothing to complain about the music and about the animation. Like those little things, they create a little problems with the characters. Sometimes they don't make sense. Sometimes they make too much sense. Isaac Newton is just there. I just laugh. There's no point to Isaac Newton, in my opinion, or to be Isaac Newton. But yeah, it's a refreshing shoujo. When you watch shoujos from the 90s and 2000s, you see they are very normal. They're very equal to each other with the glitter in there and stuff. So having a shoujo-esque show, which balances well with the action, is very good to watch. And I'll give it 7 out of.
Uh-oh, we're getting lower.
No, sorry, we'll give it an 8. I'm pretty sure. It gets very convoluted for my taste, of course. And when a show starts telling me to not worry about anything, just don't look at what I'm showing you, look at this other thing I showed you before, this kind of breaks my immersion and my suspension of disbelief. Something I cannot get behind. That's why I 7.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. Because when I mentioned didn't knock points down for me is due to they weren't important to the main story. Because yeah, as you said, a lot of shows that we've covered in the past on this podcast, that could be detrimental to a series and really knock it down. Bubblegum Crisis is one of them. Let's see.
Nadia is one.
Nadia is a huge one. That's very recent. Yeah, let's stick to that.
Just talk about Nadia. This show was like reduced, have the number of episodes reduced, but they managed that well. It wasn't like, it got convoluted not because of the lack of episodes. It got convoluted because of all those things they kept adding to the story and lead anyway. So at the end, it's just there, it's just done. Everyone is happy. Everyone is good. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm happy that I watched the show. The end.
Ori.
Yes. I mean, while I do to a certain extent agree with some of the things like it says, I also have this thing where it's like there are certain things that I just don't feel are worth explaining, because there are certain things that's just like
right.
You have written yourself into a position where it's like you can't explain this. Any explanation you can come up with will sound fucking retarded and not work. So it's like
there's a few of those in the show
like that. Yeah, so it's just, you can't. And so in that case, I don't really mind always. It depends on what it is, but I don't always really mind that some things are left vague or kind of unexplained. But again, it's more of a case by case thing. It's not like a general across the board. Stuff doesn't need to be explained. Of course it does. But for me, Escaflowne was an enjoyable series to watch. Like I didn't hate watching it. It dragged. Well, not dragged, but like it got. There were a bit at times where it did test my patience a little bit, but.
I imagine that was with some of the romance scenes in specific.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, my problem with the show mostly stems with the characters, and in particular with Hitomi. I absolutely despise her as a main character.
Common complaint.
She does not fit into this story for me, at all. I generally don't like characters that are there to have stuff work as the explanation.
You like her more or Nadia?
I actually like Nadia more, even fucking post crazy Nadia. Because at least there's something entertaining. I watch about her, even though she is fucking insane. But it's kind of just I don't like that type of character who's just like, I have a vision. This is what's gonna happen. This is why this is happening. Let me explain it to you. I really don't like that character. And she is that character. So she puts a huge damper in the show for me. And every time something happens that I enjoy, she comes and kind of ruins it for me. So, but ultimately, I did enjoy watching the show. I just don't think it's a good show. So I was stuck. I was thinking of I was basically stuck between a 7 or a 5, like anything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically decided to just go with the middle ground, and I gave it a 6. I think it's better than because I think it's better than an average show, but not by much.
Okay. All right, so we got a 9, 8, 7, and 6.
I see a pattern.
With an average of 7.5. So I believe that's close to actually the My Anime List score, if I'm not mistaken.
7.77. So yes.
Yeah, so that's right there. So I think we did a good job in scoring the show. Some like it more than others, and I think that makes sense.
Oh, unacceptable. Everyone must agree with me.
We all reached a middle ground. This was a super fun episode. I've been looking forward to Vision of Escaflowne for quite some time now. It was great. It was great rewatching the show and getting it a second time through. I liked it just as much as the first. And that with the history of the podcast, generally I go lower. And I'll thank you for the new follow by Gael. Go.
Nice.
What is our next anime that we're reviewing?
Our next anime is gonna be Gunslinger Girls.
Gunslinger Girls. Weaponized little girls.
Girls without noses.
From one end of the spectrum to another.
Oh boy.
Alrighty.
To psychic girls to weaponized little girls. Yeah. To weaponized mechas to weaponized little girls. Oh my god, how much have we fallen?
I don't know. What if it's better?
If it's better. Okay. So this was episode 37 of the Anime Cast. 101 overall, the Red Leaf Retrocast. Thank you everyone for joining us. And don't forget to sign up for our contest via leaving a review on iTunes or Stitcher, subscribing to the YouTube channel, Red Leaf Retrocast, and following us on Podbean. So that gives you 4 entries in order to have a say in a future podcast episode. You could be that lucky fan that gets to pick. Super fun episode. This is great. Colin, thank you for joining us. It was good to have you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And we'll see you in the next episode. Couple weeks. Hooray.
Awesome.
Okay. Now for the post show, for any people in the chat that has any questions. What is the Discord? I will I'll give you a link.
As fuck. I'm dying here. I need a bath and ice cream. Oh my god.
Anime Cast Escaflowne. Something is Escaflowne out of me soon.
Here we go. Discord posted in the chat for anyone that wants to join. Tribute to the cast. Hang out.
Miss not hot.
What was that other show again you mentioned, JD, that you thought I'd be interested to come on for again? I can't remember.
Macross.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We're reviewing Macross. What, March?
March of 2019 or something?
I think it's February.
I'm gonna teach you guys some culture. Consensual culture, boys.
I might be in Japan that month.
See what happens.
I'll keep you posted.
Alrighty. Well, no questions coming in the chat. A lot of people left. Just now. Got a few subscribers on Mixer in this episode. It was quite nice. They don't get to answer the contest. You gotta subscribe to the YouTube channel though. As much as I always love having more Mixer and Twitch followers. Help us reach our goal, getting over to 150 stream subscribers on Twitch and Mixer. Getting ever so closer, I think. We're at like 135, 140 now. Welcome to the Discord.
What?
So, yep. Get to sub, everybody. Leave those reviews. We got, I think, 3 new ones in during this contest so far. That's nice to have. As I'm gonna end the stream now officially.
Cool.